Welcome to episode 177 of Prose. This week, get a touch dark and existential while on a run. Rather than discussing the Prose website this week or any other plugs for the show, I implore everyone to go check out the GoFundMe titled Support for the Family of Everett Byram. Everett was my brother's best friend, a member of my family for all intents and purposes, and a formative part of my own adolescence. Everett left us on February 10th, the first of 9 siblings. Everett leaves behind one son in Virginia, his 1-year-old twins, and his wife Ursula in Los Angeles, California. Ursula and he married in 2020 and bought a home to raise their twins in. Everett loved his family. He was a musician. He was an excellent cook, and man, did he have a talent for making people laugh. He felt most at home when he made you smile. The suddenness of Everett's passing has rocked the family, his friends, and a very, very wide community of fans. We ask for your help trying to cover the cost of a funeral to celebrate his life and mourn his passing, as well as to help ease the transition as his wife and children move across the country to be closer to family. Any support is appreciated. Any amount will give them the ability to afford the days ahead. I will put the link to the GoFundMe in the show notes and all social media posts, and I do, again, implore you to at least go and consider giving to support for Family of Everett Byram, a GoFundMe. And now we'll get back to the show. Thanks for listening. Let's get to the tale, shall we? This week, we have Around. Enjoy. Around, an original short story by Jared I. McGee. After 3 straight weeks of single-digit temperatures, and occasionally an evening when those single digits descended into the negatives, 35 degrees feels downright balmy. It might as well be a summer Sunday than one in the depths of winter for that kind of rise. One positive thing about this nearly 30-degree leap in temperatures is that I don't have to wear 10 layers to stay warm. I also don't have to put up with the obnoxious way my breath freezes into my beard, even when I have a balaclava on. When I first moved to the Northeast, such things were novel. After half a decade of exhalation becoming ice during winter runs, that novelty has long ago worn off. Today, we'll see no icing. Hell, after the first 3 miles, I'll likely be able to lose my gloves, tucking them into the waistband of my shorts/long winter undergear combo, while also unzipping my second layer. I simply love the midnight blue 3/4 zip running top my brother gave me about 10 Christmases ago. It's just perfect for cold weather running. The positives are legion. That's not to say there aren't negatives as I make my way toward the short gravel loop around the reservoir. The rise in temperature does not just appeal to me. No. The droves of others who have been suffering through the true winter weather we have been having are also called forth from their warm apartments by the relative thawing. Hundreds are swarming the series of trails and roads that spread out in a complex vascular system, keeping Central Park abuzz on any given day. I'm sure there's something to be said about the park having a beating heart and all that mess, but the sheer press of humans I am having to dodge while running and making my way toward the reservoir loop drives any attempts at metaphor from my brain. As always, even on the coldest of days, plenty of people are out and about walking for fitness, walking for scenery, walking for romantic purposes, walking for photographic purposes, walking for transportation purposes, walking for child exhausting purposes, walking for animal caretaking purposes, and running. People going around and around the reservoir. Some on the trail nearest the railing, some on the trail farther out. The latter is so much wider and devoid of looky-loos and people out there for, and I cringe that I am even thinking this abomination of a neologism/word hijacking. They're out there for the aesthetic. I have learned to bob and weave through the walkers and slow runners. It's not exactly a great skill set that one needs great practice to hone, to be honest. But I am still proud of my ability to zip through all of my fellow denizens of Great Gotham without once jostling the hand-holding couple, without once causing a speed walker to halt their gait, without once piquing someone's urban anger by cutting them off as we both try to make our way around and around and around and around this carousel of fitness. The first 2 miles has felt rough today. Despite the increased warmth, my recent tussle with COVID has slowed me. Being essentially bedridden for 2 weeks has done nothing for my stamina. Not that I was exactly an Olympic athlete before the pause. My hard-earned physique and the equally hard-earned endurance that caused it have slipped and slipped these past 3 or 4 years. Age certainly slows a would-be athlete down, but adulthood and capitalism have done far more to slow me up and make me more doughy than aging ever has. Time is necessary to train one's body. Rest is necessary to train one's body. Time and rest are something that I certainly do not have much of these days. The real tragedy is how great I feel during and after these runs. The longer the better, the harder the better. I feel the same way, only magnified 10 times after a swimming workout. I am a better person when I am able to be active a couple hours a day. So my not being able to do just that does more than see my waistline expand and my ripples disappear under an increasingly thickening layer of adipose tissue. It makes me think slower, less creatively, meaner, more myopically. The minute I get out and do a quick 4-miler, my attitude and my intellect become so much easier to wrestle toward productivity and kindness and true achievement. It's funny that I can have these thoughts as I run. I get somewhat introspective, deep even. Swimming? Swimming since that is done in veritable silence, save for the splashing, my heartbeat, and my breath, causes me to be even more introspective. So much so that after a swim workout, I come off as if I had just finished a day of meditation in silence. My zen is found in a not-so-crowded lap pool. But the oddity of my mind being allowed to wax introspective and philosophical while I run is because I always treat myself to listening to audiobooks as I run. It is a little incentive for me to get off my ever-widening ass and go. To move. I disappear into those fantastic worlds and am transported into battles, succession crises, magical droughts, and so many other events that overshadow the prosaic nature of running loops around fetid water. The distraction is nice, but the injection of verve from the electric events in those novels also encourages me to speed up and push. I run alongside the warriors charging toward battle and glory, and that makes me pick up the pace. It is on the third lap around the reservoir that they horn in on my thinking and my audiobook and my entire experience. If I'm being honest, for once, I also had the thought occur to me that they are also harming the experience of all the other people around me. Chalk one up for not being a narcissist in my entirety, eh? The first things I notice is that the couple, and I am assuming they are a couple, yes, are wearing matching Hermes Defi running sneakers. Defi? 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 All I know is that between those 4 human feet, they are carrying around over $2,000 worth of plastic and fabric. I cannot fully tell what socks they have on, but I'm somewhat confident that I saw the iconic Gucci G popping up now and again up over those overpriced sneakers of theirs. The matching goes beyond the ankle, though. They are sporting Prada Techno Knit running pants, roughly another $4,000 between them. Their top halves are in Balenciaga, something I think is called the Energy Accumulator or some such. This one is a long-sleeved edition, which I wasn't sure really existed. Another $2,000 between them, right there. Dolce & Gabbana running hats and Prada running gloves come together for a heaping $9,000 price tag. With other little trinkets they have added on, the couple is jaunting around and around like the rest of us. But they are jaunting with almost $20,000 worth of clothing to keep them warm and in shape. The only reason I have any knowledge of what I am seeing is because I had just been invited to go to a runner's convention with a fashion industry friend. I had never felt more like a fish out of water. The runners were real runners, which I am not. The fashionistas and industry people had money and style, which I do not. But it is not this couple's elite wardrobe decisions that are making all of us around them quickly come to loathe them. No. No, no, no. It's that they are not really running. Nor are they walking. Nor are they strolling hand in hand. They are doing this odd start and stop, halting, run, walk, jog thing. Sometimes sprinting, sometimes jogging, sometimes coming to a complete stop without warning. They are not working out. They are recording what is these days moronically called content. The man is recording the woman doing different running adjacent things in her $10,000+ of gear. He is behind, then beside, then in front of her. There is no rhyme or reason to what they are doing, nor are they taking into account that they are in the midst of swarms of other people, just trying to enjoy the public space. Runners are getting tripped up by their inconsistency. Walkers are getting jostled and bumped as they flail around and try to act dramatic for the camera. Everyone is doing their best to steer clear of them, but there isn't the same wide boulevard of gravel as there is in the outer ring of the reservoir loop. What assholes these two are. Thankfully, I only came upon them on my second lap. My first was gloriously dipshit free. I thought that I would quickly lose them amid their filming, but I didn't do circle math, if you will. Yes, I got past them for my second lap, but that just meant that I would come upon them again and again in my future laps. I am already tiring after 4 miles, which is terrible for me. So I think I will do one more lap to make it a 10K for the day. And then I will head home to the work that looms before tomorrow and the beginning of another slog of a work week. So lap 2 is quickly in the books, though not as quickly as I would like, and lap 3 is well on its way when I see a kerfuffle ahead. I sigh because the last thing I need is yet another undodgeable slowdown. Then, I quickly see that the current hullabaloo ahead of me on the loop is, surprise, surprise, being caused by the fancy content creating couple. As I slow down my pace and approach, I see that there is a small crowd around them. Well, maybe that is a bit dramatic. 15 or so people have encased the duo in a semicircle and are yelling and carrying on. It is difficult to move past the fracas. So, I come to a halt and start to squeeze past the semicircle, or try anyway. Once a little west of the thick of the quarrel, I pause my audiobook and take down my headphones, in the moment asking a fellow runner who is slowed and is also skirting the situation about what is going on. It turns out, at least from what she has seen, the couple, in their absolute focus on ensuring they're creating quality content with just the right bounce of the woman's tits, just the right angle of her ass, just the right form, just the right background, just the right pace, just the perfect series of angles in general, have run into an older woman who is out walking for fitness. They knocked the poor thing down, causing her to lose both her hiking poles she was using to stay up and ambulatory. Since the reservoir loop is absolutely jam-packed with people, the 15 that are pecking at the couple are those that were closest to that event when it occurs. From what my informant friend is saying, the citizens rallied around the woman who was knocked down, lifted her up, retrieved her poles, and, just moments ago, they threw the couple's phone into the water. That's right. They bullied the device away from the man and tossed it right up and over the small fence and down into the reservoir proper. The couple is livid, but also keenly aware of how precarious their position is in this moment. They really hurt this woman. She's a little bloodied on her hands and forehead. Hell, if I had been there at the moment of impact and actually seen the callousness turn into casual, if unintended, violence, I likely would have gone farther than just tossing their phone into the water. Selfishness irks me. Selfishness that causes harm to others gets me so riled up that I have a tendency toward hitting first and thinking later. Not an admirable quality, I know, but injustice is something that sends me into rages I cannot control. I have been that way since I was quite small. Thankfully, as I age and testosterone decreases and wisdom increases, I have found ways of sidestepping that drive. The couple is whinging on about their lost content. From what I can hear above the squabbling and babbling of the righteous 15, the phone is of little consequence to the pair. They are wearing 20 to 30 smartphones as workout clothes. Clearly, money is not an object. Their sadness and inconsolability is born of their precious filmed content. The woman keeps loudly repeating that we all do not know how much she makes, how much she sacrifices to keep her fans happy, how important she is. She is famous, you know. She will call the NYPD. Several shouts rise up at that. How is she going to call the NYPD without a phone? Would she like them to call the police for her? They would love to have a chat with an officer. What were the fines and jail time for assaulting a senior again? One of the assembled has apparently just returned from jury duty and chimes in at that last shouted question. They seem to remember something like an equation that says if the assaulted is X number of years older than the assaulter, then the prosecutor can actually charge a felony of some sort or another. That gets the couple to shut up. I realize that I am standing in a growing crowd. Everyone facing this insta-famous couple and becoming increasingly hostile toward them. I can't help but snicker. Maybe my pour is showing, and my bias definitely is, but there is always something sweet about seeing the mighty fall. For me, seeing those of great economic means crash has always been satisfying. I'm not saying that is kind or even logical, but I just can't help it. I try to keep that uglier side of my thinking in check. But seeing an old lady with a laceration the size of a ruler across her face, chin to scalp, I allowed the darker side of my psyche to stride with confidence anywhere he likes. I have another mile or two before I get home. I have sit-ups and push-ups and stretching and some light dumbbells to take care of to end my fitness for the day. I need to walk my little dog. It's not fair to him to be locked up on the weekends after having to remain a prisoner during the work week. I have that work to tackle, so very much as I always do. Thus is the fate of anyone trying to scrape a living out of New York City. I have a family to call. I have dating app messages to reply to. I have an outfit to choose and steam for tomorrow. I have a salad to prepare and store in the fridge. I have a new PCP to find after my other left her practice amid marital problems, some of which I was the cause of. I have bills to pay online. I have texts and calls to return. I'm so bad at remembering to respond. I have a shower to take. I have recycling to take down. I have some tidying to do ahead of a fast-paced sprint of a week. Every week is a fast-paced sprint of a week. I need to get to bed here in 8 hours too, if I am to get back up and hit this loop again in the morning before work. Around and around and around and around and around and around. I thank the other bystander for the information. I begin my embarrassing pace again. I think that the couple is losing steam behind me. They have resigned themselves to castigation. It must be a difficult cognitive exercise for them, realizing that they are the villains in this tableau. Or is it a one act, as there is motion? They will remain a tableau in my head, though, stuck with privileged, pillowy soft hands raised in confusion and defiance, in the "but what?" gesture, as they are poised to be pecked by the good Samaritans trying to defend the honor of an elder while striking a blow against the 1%, even if a good portion of those doing the striking are part of that self-same demographic themselves. Guillotines would lob most of their heads off if true wealth distribution were at hand. There I go again. The thoughts go dark. I restart my audiobook. Some Scotsmen are defending the hill with some ancient Neolithic stones that were once holy to their ancestors. They help distract me from the reality of what is around me and all the humdrum necessities that await me at the end of this run. I am glad that couple lost their phone. I like the warmer weather. I celebrate mob justice when it is just. I am tired. So very tired. Around and 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 around. Thank you for listening to Around, an original short story by me, Jared I. McGee. That does it for prose this week. All sounds that you have heard over the course of this story come from YouTube's free music library and freesound.org, with a couple originals of my own tossed in there for measure. Everything is being used under CC 01.0 public domain dedication licenses. Thanks so much for joining me this week. I do hope you enjoyed this little tale. One last note before we sign off for the week. I do beg of you, go check out the GoFundMe linked to this episode. Support for Family of Everett Byram is the title, and any support you can put forward for this lovely, lovely man and the family that he loved would be greatly appreciated. He put so much laughter and so many smiles into the world. Let's try to make those he left behind. Feel the warmth that he was so keen on giving all of us.
Come back in 2 weeks' time when we will leap right back into tales of all sorts and sizes. Until then, love those around you, tell them that you do, and embrace this life as it is, always stranger than fiction. Thank you so much for listening.